tried to expose Diddy, but he threatened to kill me. I know all of Diddy's secrets. I even know where he buried the dead bodies, but I am not involved with Diddy.
This is the news that we brought you earlier in the week in our special episode that US rapper Jay-Z, real name Sean Carter, has been mentioned in a US civil suit that alleges that he, alongside Sean Diddy Combs, drugged and a 13-year-old girl after the VMAs in 2000.
It was last March 2024 when the feds, in LA and Miami and New York, they enacted these raids on Diddy's home, and it's been nonstop coverage since then. And finally, we know he was obviously arrested in late 2024. And
how close was Diddy and Jay-Z? They was close enough that they wasn't playing basketball. They wasn't playing baseball. They wasn't playing football. And they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his ass, and then make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z.
Diddy's federal trial has taken a wild twist. Now Jay-Z's name is being dragged back into the spotlight. These two weren't just industry friends. They were tight, connected in ways that went beyond music. Jay-Z, who's been carefully keeping his distance from the storm surrounding Diddy, might not be able to stay on the sidelines any longer. The court may now demand his side of the story. And Diddy? He's not taking the pressure well. Let's break it down. Jury selection for one of the most explosive celebrity cases in years kicked off on May 5th. Diddy is facing serious federal charges under racketeering laws, allegations of organized activity, trafficking, and conspiracy. And the scope? Massive. The names, the places, the witnesses. It's like something out of a high-stakes crime epic.
This is a very disturbing incident of physical violence. But what it is it actually matches up almost word for word with the complaint that was filed by Cassandra Ventura. I want to bring in right now Tracy Walder, former CIA and FBI agent, frequent contributor here on Sidebar, and also national security contributor here on News Nation. Tracy, your immediate reaction to seeing this, because it is absolutely gut-wrenching and incredibly disturbing to see, in my opinion. What do you think?
I could not agree with you more. It was shocking. Quite frankly, it's not that I ever dismissed any of Miss Ventura's claims. I always have believed her and her claims. I suspect this video was probably used in terms of her bringing up that initial case. I'm also shocked, though, that there's not additional criminal charges as well. This is extremely severe, goes on for such a period of time, and she was clearly very much injured. It is just appalling to watch.
Rapper Jay-Z of raping a 13-year-old girl in 2000 alongside Sean Diddy Combs. The lawsuit, originally filed in October, was refiled today to include Jay-Z as a defendant. The anonymous accuser claims the assault occurred at an MTV Video Music Awards after party. Jay-Z has denied the allegations in a statement on Roc Nation's Instagram, calling the accusations heinous and urging a criminal complaint be filed instead of a civil one. He also criticized the attorney behind the lawsuit, Tony Busby, accusing him of exploiting the case for personal gain.
Once that video went viral, Diddy's polished image collapsed in an instant. He posted a public apology, claiming he was ashamed of his actions and had been seeking help through therapy. But the real shock came after. His downfall triggered a wave of voices that had stayed quiet for years. Since then, more than 60 lawsuits have surfaced, some quietly settled, others still pending. Together, they reveal a troubling pattern of someone who allegedly used power, fame, and influence to dominate those around him.
I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
And his lawyers can lie, but video doesn't lie. And when it was clear that he was physically violent with Cassie, he really had no choice but to apologize. On the legal side, it didn't help him. It can be used against him. From a PR perspective, though, this was the right.
As the investigation deepens, it's starting to pull in everyone from Diddy's inner circle, longtime friends, close business allies, and yes, even Jay-Z is now being mentioned.
Really didn't know what, what to expect.
You lie about your background.
I mean, that's all old news. I didn't lie about.
But I haven't.
You do early on that kept you financially stable and now financially flourishing at this point in your life?
So what I did was find another passion. All my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares. And I figured out the biggest value and purpose in life is that it has nothing to do with money or buying all these things. I was young, manipulated, and I was a puppet.
We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit, and the new allegations are just coming out this evening. Jay-Z is being accused of minor along with Diddy at a MTV VMAs after party back in 2000, according to documents obtained by Fox News Digital tonight. The lawsuit, which was initially filed back in October, was refiled tonight in New York by an anonymous accuser claiming Jay-Z, whose full name is Sean Carter, while Combs and Celebrity B watched. So that other celebrity was not named.
After the news broke, Jay-Z's lawyer filed a motion on Tuesday. They've asked to deny the plaintiff's request to proceed anonymously. They've also asked for the case to be dealt with as quickly as possible because of the highly sensitive nature of the matter and because of the media interest it's generated. The filed motion from Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, also says, for the avoidance of doubt, Mr. Carter is entirely innocent. This is a shakedown. He is not mentioned, referenced, or implicated in any way in the criminal investigation of Mr. Combs. He is neither a target nor a person of interest in that investigation. Cheyenne, I'll start with you. Sort of where were you and how did you react when you heard the new allegations?
I was actually coming out of a theater show, and so my phone just was filled with messages trying to work out what happened, and then Jay-Z's statement dropped, and so it was kind of all hands on deck on a Sunday night, which has been kind of the case for some of these updated filings. The news breaks at night, and the next morning it's just unfolding as things continue.
I was in the bed eating chicken wings, and they were delicious. And all of a sudden, my phone just started text messages and messages from TikTok and Joe. So I started doing my own research, and I had grease all over my fingers, typing on the iPad, and I was just like, well, here we go. It's about to blow up.
I mean, this is kind of what people have been waiting for. When Tony Busby came out at the beginning of October and he promised to name other people co-conspirators, the facilitators of foul play, he called them. Was that kind of what you were seeing online? Just comments of, oh, okay, it's beginning.
I think, since Diddy was arrested and the idea of his parties, people have been clamoring for additional names, other celebrities to now be pulled into that. And Jay-Z is one of the biggest celebrities so far. It's pulled into it. So yeah, people were kind of waiting for a moment like this.
And if you listen to his lawyers, some of the things that they said that were pretty interesting is he's not a target. He's not a probe or things of this at the criminal investigation, because if he was a target, he would have received a target letter from the federal authorities saying, you come and sit down and talk to us. So his lawyer said, without saying, the federal government on the RICO allegations have never talked to Jay-Z. That's basically him saying, I already know nobody's looking at me criminal.
Here's where Jay-Z gets pulled into the mix. A man named Joseph Manzro filed a lawsuit claiming he was drawn into one of Diddy's Miami parties back in 2015. According to him, he was subjected to degrading treatment in front of major industry figures. He went as far as naming Beyonce and Jay-Z, saying they witnessed it all and stayed silent. Manzro described Beyonce as visibly disturbed, like she sensed something was wrong, but said Jay-Z just stood there, unbothered. That accusation hit hard, but Jay-Z's legal team moved fast. His powerhouse attorney, Alex Spiro, dropped documents proving Jay-Z and Beyonce weren't even in Miami. They were in Las Vegas at the Billboard Music Awards, with photos and video to prove it. Soon after, Manzro quietly edited the lawsuit, scrubbing out all mention of the Carters as if they were never part of it. But by then, their names were already tied to the chaos, and people couldn't help but wonder, how much do Jay and Bey really know about Diddy's world?
Is pretty much in between a rock and a hard place. Jay-Z will be either forced to testify or he won't be subpoenaed to testify because he's being charged as a part of this RICO case with Diddy. So this is going to be an interesting situation to see how this plays out. I have a bunch of different pieces of information on this. I want to get into what Nicki Minaj has been saying too. She just actually, if you don't know, we can kind of break this news live. Nicki Minaj has just come out, put out some more statements about Jay-Z and Diddy. So we got to talk about that. You know, what she had to say about the situation. I'm going to pull up Diddy's indictment, the entire document, the 14-page indictment. And we're going to talk about this. Crazy situation, man. Crazy situation. We're going to see how this plays out for Jay. If you guys remember earlier this summer, 50 had just been going crazy, posting content and memes and different things about Diddy, making fun of him. He actually just sold his documentary. I think he just sold his Diddy documentary to Netflix. They said he's been working on it for 10 years. So I want to talk about the situation with 50 and what he was saying prior to about Jay-Z being involved with the Diddy situation. This is the article about Diddy's situation. It says P. Diddy's rich and powerful friends such as Jay-Z could be forced to testify. That's what experts claim. That's the headline. And then they just kind of go into a synopsis and a summary of everything that Diddy has been charged with, what's going on with him, why it's going on with him. And, you know, I don't feel the need to reiterate all that. We already know what that is. I don't think we need to go back into the details of that yet. We're going to pull up his indictment, the 14-page indictment anyway. So this is what a prosecutor said. Let me see. Here we go. The article says, the former prosecutor Niyama Ramani explained to the U.S. Sun how those in Diddy's circle could be affected by any trial on the horizon. This is the quote that the prosecutor gave. Jay-Z and other celebrities can be subpoenaed, but they will almost certainly assert their Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and refuse to testify. Now, this prosecutor is saying that Jay-Z and, you know, they named Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, Leonardo DiCaprio, Pharrell, Snoop Dogg. They named these people in the article. She said that he could, or that if they're subpoenaed, they're probably going to, you know, plead the fifth in order to avoid self-incrimination. Now, why that's important? Because if you didn't do anything wrong, why would you feel the need to worry about being incriminated? If you had nothing to do with nothing, if you legit, now there is a point, or there's a part of this where people don't want to testify against Diddy because of the business relationships that they've had with him. But in my opinion, you know, I think pleading the fifth publicly is going to look just as bad as anything else.
But upon Diddy's driver, who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
Speculation is now building that Jay's could be called as a witness. Let's be clear, he's not accused of any crime. But given how close he was to Diddy during the years in question, prosecutors may want to know what he saw, what he heard, or what conversations they shared. Remember, Diddy and Jay weren't just collaborators, they were close. They worked together, showed up at the same events, and were regularly seen side by side. If anyone had a window into Diddy's private world, it's Jay-Z. Legal analysts are now suggesting his name may be on a potential witness list. And for someone like Jay-Z, who's built a career by staying out of scandals and protecting his image, this is the kind of attention he definitely didn't ask for.
Statement, and I can't say, I wish I could say half a homo, but I know I can't say it, but I don't know what kind of half a homo that is. And you trying to say that you're not close to somebody. You coming on stage, patting them on their ass, and then you making a broad statement to the public. Can't nobody call me Sean but Sean Carter. And I heard Jay-Z said the same thing about them. But they were so close that they had matching white girls together. Because when they used to see each other, they used to say, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? He'd be like, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? So I guess that's a certain type of closeness.
I ain't know anything about that, man. I ain't know about, Jay touching his, ass. So I got to go see the video. I ain't hear about that.
Come on, man. Everybody's seen that. 50 even pointed it out. Excuse me. When they was in ATL on stage. Remember when 50 bum rushed the stage with them?
Yeah, I think I recall that.
When Puff came on stage, first thing he did was pat Jay-Z on that. But I forgot. That's your favorite rapper.
Hey, him and Pocket's 1A, 1B. But what's your issue with Jay, man? I didn't know you had an issue with him.
I'm never a fan of somebody that I was going to knock out. And then we was at the, it was me, him, Ashley Kushner, Puff and them. We was all at the next game together. And he didn't even remember none of it. And I don't expect him to remember, but I remembered. You understand? And he told Puff, he said, yo, Puff, I heard about that Gene right there. That Gene got a mean left. Oh, he said, that Gene a knocking out. Then he gonna come up to me and say, man, you look like, man, you a tearing the ass up. And I said to himself, I said, yo, no Diddy. Pause. Whatever. I said, he don't even remember. I was about to knock him the F out. He didn't even remember. He said to me to Laura. That's how these guys are, man. They'll cause situations and cause problems, and then they'll forget what they done because they on a whole nother atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? A lot of shit that he did, you got to understand, like now he'll say that they're kids because he's raising kids of his own. You understand? But how would you like it that if Blue Ivory, 15, 16 years old, 17, 18 years old, dating in his early 30s? You're not going to go for that. No matter what she came through in Hollywood. But you got to understand, guys who was around there, we didn't know Jay-Z them ages. We didn't know these cats' age. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't having no beards and nothing like that. They was wearing low cuts. You understand? Clean face. I would have never believed when Jay was coming around the block, scooping up the young girls and stuff like that he was 30 years old.
Behind the scenes, insiders say Diddy is seriously shaken by the idea of Jay-Z taking the stand. Even if Jay doesn't directly accuse him of anything, simply confirming certain conversations or patterns could trigger a wave of fallout. Diddy's once tight circle is starting to crack. Former partners, associates, even past romantic connections, many are turning against him. One woman is reportedly set to testify publicly using her real name with no anonymity. That alone could carry major weight. Diddy's original legal team, gone. One lawyer walked away, and now he's relying on Mark Jaros, a heavyweight in high-profile defense. But even Jaros may be facing an uphill battle. And let's not forget the raids. In March, federal agents hit both of Diddy's LA homes, not just taking notes, but seizing phones, hard drives, and surveillance footage. Whatever they found might be the real turning point.
He's associated with him. We saw the feds descend on those properties. We saw in aerial footage, federal agents both here in the Los Angeles area as well as in Miami at those residences. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, their what's called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, gave CNN a statement. I'll read you part of that when asked about what this activity is. They say that earlier today, HSI New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. That is it, confirming that they are conducting what they're deeming law enforcement action, which could indicate search warrants being conducted there, could indicate arrests being conducted. We just don't know at this hour specifically what that law enforcement action is. It is worth pointing out, though, that Combs himself obviously has faced significant legal woes in recent months. I'll give you just the highlights of what actually occurred in November. He was sued for abuse by a former partner. That lawsuit was then settled very quickly. But in December, he faced in a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York. The suit was brought by a woman referred to as Jane Doe, who said that she was 17 at the time when these allegations took place back in 2003. He was accused of trafficking and gang other allegations also in that suit naming two of his associates. Of course, Combs denied any wrongdoing there. And then just last month, a former employee of Combs filed a suit also in the state of New York accusing him of sexual assault, harassment, and, quote, grooming. That former employee stated that he had worked for Combs between 2022 and 2023. Among those allegations, this former employee, a male employee, said that Combs did not compensate him for his music production work and forced him to procure and interact with workers, threatened him with serving alcoholic beverages laced with drugs to guests at parties at Combs' home. And then Combs' son, Justin Combs, was also accused of soliciting and underage girls at his father's homes. Again, the Combs have denied any wrongdoing, but just a series of allegations that we've seen taking place. Final point, Wolf, I'll note is that while we don't know the specific allegations or why the feds are at these residences, it is worth pointing out the agency that is conducting this law enforcement activity. It's not the FBI, it's not the DEA or the ATF. This is HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. For those unfamiliar, this is an agency that has long been the forefront, specifically at human trafficking investigation.
We still don't know the exact charges or why federal agents targeted Diddy's homes, but take note, this isn't the FBI, DEA, or ATF, it's Homeland Security Investigations, HSI. HSI has a long history of leading human trafficking probes, and when they show up like this, it signals they're crafting a case far larger than any headlines. This isn't gutter gossip, it's about uncovering systemic evidence, power dynamics, and whether the law finally catches up. Everyone's eyes are glued to this trial, not just hip-hop fans, but survivors, advocates, and the entertainment world at large, because it could reset the industry's playbook. Attorney Andrew Van Arsdale, working with an army of alleged victims, says they've already fielded over 27,000 calls and are vetting more than 400 potential new cases. That number alone is staggering. Even celebrities who once stayed silent are now stepping into the light, ready to expose what's been hidden for too long.
Well, it's entirely a reputation protection matter. I mean, the mission here for anybody who gets tied up in this is, number one, stay out of jail. Number two, protect your reputation. And number three, try not to pay out a lot of civil settlements.
Calling for the claims to be actually dismissed. What are you watching for in this case?
Well, Sean Carter, Jay-Z has good reason to ask for this case to be dismissed. The accuser came out and did an interview. Now, we didn't get to see her face. We didn't get to learn her name. But in the interview, she gave some statements that were inconsistent with the statements that, or the accusations, I should say, that are made in her lawsuit. And it does raise serious questions about the credibility of this accuser. These superseding indictments filed against Sean Combs based on these three allegations.
According to Inner City Press, this is the exact moment testimony unfolded in a federal courtroom during Diddy Combs' trial. After months of speculation, filings, and public pressure, the courtroom finally saw Sean Jay-Z Carter arrive, not as an icon or mogul, but pulled into a storm not of his making. His name had been linked to parties, people, and places he denied ever being involved with. Yet here he was, taking the stand while the world watched. The connection to Cassie Ventura's testimony had set the stage. The prosecution was readying new evidence, and Diddy's legal team casually sifted through papers, unaware of the shock about to walk through the door. Jay-Z entered in a navy suit tailored so sharply it felt like armor. No Rock Nation team, no Beyonce, no entourage, just him, walking into a courtroom that hadn't expected him, hadn't listed him, hadn't prepared for the weight of his presence. As he stepped in, the room tensed. A quiet gasp moved through the gallery. Reporters froze. Cassie sat steady behind the prosecution. Even the judge raised an eyebrow. Diddy turned slowly, locking eyes with Jay like he was seeing the return of a ghost from a past he thought buried. The court had denied Jay-Z's request for a closed session. Transparency ruled the day. Now, in full view of journalists, federal agents, and industry veterans, Jay-Z took an oath. Not to perform, but to testify. And as he opened his mouth to speak, the room leaned forward, ready for the truth in his voice. Not lyrics, not headlines, but something far more real.